Hello, my name is Rosabella Pinchefsky. If you had asked me a few months ago how I felt about school projects, I would have told you they were just boxes to check. I envision life as a checklist. Everything is just one and done. I've always been lazy, which for some people can be hard to admit, but it's the truth of how I've operated for a long time. I preferred the easy path. But then I started looking into the emerald ash borer and the dying trees in our own backyard here in Morristown. At first, it was just another assignment. But as I watched these trees struggle against these bugs, I realized I was motivated to actually try and help. My goal was to study how the emerald ash borer affects the local ecosystems at Patriots Path and in my own backyard. Scientifically, it's a tragedy. These beetles are efficient, they're fast, and they're destructive. But the real challenge wasn't the science, it was the doing. To actually understand what was happening to the trees in Morristown, I couldn't just skim a website at 11 p.m. I had to go outside, I had to observe, and I had to actually care. In the beginning, my laziness told me to just make it up or do the bare minimum, which, when thinking about it, seemed easy. But to go out of my way proved to be more difficult. Getting up, walking around outside in the cold, going out of town on weekends, and trying to observe as much as I could was harder than I thought. What surprised me was how much I started noticing once I actually paid attention. First, all the trees kind of looked the same to me, but after spending time outside, I started to see the differences. Bark splitting, thinning canopies, and branches that looked brittle or completely dead. I started recognizing patterns instead of just seeing trees. There were moments where I would go out and honestly not want to be there at all. I'd be cold, tired, or just thinking about how much easier it is to go home and finish the assignment in an hour. But the longer I stayed, the more invested I became. I stopped feeling like something I had to do and started feeling like something I chose to do. I also realized doing real observation takes patience. There isn't an instant result. You don't walk outside and immediately understand everything. You have to take your time, look closely, sometimes come back multiple days and compare what you're seeing. That was frustrating. It was frustrating at first. I'm used to quick answers, but over time, I started to appreciate that slower process. It made what I was learning feel more real. Another thing that changed is how I approached research. Before, I'd look for the fastest ways to get information and move on. But with this project, I actually wanted to understand what I was reading. I found myself going deeper, looking at how the beetles spread, why ash trees are so vulnerable, and what it means for ecosystems like the ones around me to go through this. It wasn't just about finishing anymore, it was about understanding. Something I didn't expect was how this project changed how I see responsibility. Before, if something didn't directly affect me, it was easy to ignore. If it wasn't on my checklist, it wasn't my problem. But seeing these trees in my own area slowly die made it feel personal. It made me realize the problems don't just exist somewhere else. They're happening around us all the time, whether or not we pay attention or not. The mindset started to carry over into other parts of my life. I stopped asking, what's the easiest way to get this done, and started asking, what's the right way to do this? Even if it took longer, even if it took more effort, and I'm not perfect at it, but just asking this question changed how I approach things. It also made me realize that this isn't just about results. It's about awareness, paying attention, being present, and thinking about what you're doing. That was something I used to avoid because it's just easier to go through the motions. But once I stopped doing that, I started to feel more in control of my work instead of just reacting to it. Admitting you're lazy is uncomfortable. It's a flaw that makes you feel small. But I found that once I admitted it, the flaw lost power over me. It became a choice rather than a personality trait. This project forced me to get up. It forced me to put in the hours of research on my own time, not because a teacher was hovering over me, but because I wanted to see if I actually could do it. I moved from being someone who just gets by to someone who gets it done. I started trying to make more of an effort in places where I knew I wasn't doing as good as I could be. I started trying to fill these gaps with actual engagement. How do I know I've actually changed? It's not just the script, it's a shift in my other classes. In my seminar class, I've made more of an effort to study or work on my project for at least an hour a day, and I feel more confident in my work, and I've seen the differences in reactions from my peers. I feel more confident when I actually know the material. Another example of this is in my chemistry class. When I actually sit down, do the work, read, and ask questions, I feel more engaged. This presentation of learning is proof of that effort. Usually, I'd be trying to slide through this with as little work as possible. Instead, I'm standing here, showing you the work I did and how I made a conscious effort to be present. The emerald ash borer is a reminder of what happens if we don't pay attention to the environment around us. But for me, this project is a reminder of what happens when I don't pay attention to myself. I lose sight of my goals, and I get distracted. I'm still a work in progress. I still have days where I want to take the easy way out. But I've learned that the hard way, the way that requires research, observation, and actual effort, is the only way to grow. I'm walking away from this project with more than facts about trees. I'm walking away with a better sense of who I want to be. Thank you.